what it means to be an American. America is freedom, and freedom is special and rare.
We, the people of this great nation.
The only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
We, the people of this great nation.
Well, America, I think we might just be getting closer to finally getting a little justice. There's a lot of breaking news. A lot of interesting events have taken place today. I actually have a guest from Ohio, a good friend of mine. His name is Jason. Jason, are you there?
I'm here. How are you, Jason?
Good. So my buddy Jason, he keeps up with the news a lot. He's actually an investor. He invests people's money. He's a financial planner. He handles stock markets. I would highly recommend you use his services if you're in the Ohio area. But that's just a whole different ballgame. But nevertheless, he texted me quickly tonight, and he was letting me know about some breaking news that happened. And I asked him how credible was it, and he quickly fact-checked me. You know, he quickly sent me the facts, and I just want him to break it down pretty much. Go ahead, Jay.
I don't know. All I know is that, there's two sources. Number one, Newsmax. Number two, Market Watch. And news articles that came over the wire talking about Michigan. And basically, Wayne County in Michigan right now has their votes in question. And, listen, I'm a Republican, but, I had certified that, listen, Biden's going to be in office. So I've gotten to the point where I'm kind of over this voter fraud. But now I don't know what to think.
Well, in Nevada, they just canceled 1/6 of the votes, which would be over 160,000 votes, somewhat around that range, because they found discrepancies, and they're only going to rerun it again. They're going to throw out the ballots, and President Trump is already pursuing that because he says that if he's on the ticket, it should also be thrown out for him. That would put him over the finish line in Nevada. I don't know if you knew that. And a lawyer, which happens to be an electoral in Georgia, says that he filed a lawsuit personally as an electoral for the electorals to make the choice on who won Georgia.
Oh my goodness.
Because they broke the law by creating by the law firm that represents Hillary Clinton. They changed the laws in Georgia on the whole ballot, mail-in ballots, and they said that it has to go through legislation. That there's a legislation that handles that. They're the ones that make the rules of the election. That they can't oversee them like that, and he's part of that. So there's a lot of different things that are going on right now. I strongly believe they cheated him out of the election. I don't like to jump into conspiracy theories. I've, like you, kind of have been trying to let my audience know, listen, it might not work out for us. Because the reality is Donald Trump is battling a lot of different people in a lot of high positions. You got countries involved. I mean, the fact that Systemax is the program that is being used, and Systemax was created by Hugo Chavez, which is the dictator.
Dominion.
Well, no, Systemax is the program. The actual software that goes into Dominion was developed by Hugo Chavez, and it's still controlled by the regiment, and it's been recycled to different companies, sold to different companies, and somehow they're controlling our ballots and our voting system. I mean, it's pretty sad that anybody can pretty much get into our voting system. A lot of irregularities, shutting down, suddenly votes pop up in the middle of the night when they're supposedly not counting, when they claim they're not counting. Almost seems like they were just trying to round up the numbers to see what it is they need to win the election and to win the specific state. This is only happening in these corrupt-ass states. If you notice, it's happening in Detroit, happening in Philadelphia, happening in Phoenix, happening in Las Vegas, happening in Atlanta. All the key places that it happens are corrupt cities. Plain and simple. Milwaukee. I mean, listen, Donald Trump is within the margin of error in Wisconsin regardless. So he could request a recount. It cost $8 million. That's where the issues start coming in because you have to pay to request a recount. So, and Georgia, we saw the breaking news that happened yesterday. Somebody just forgot to upload 2,600 votes. And it happened to be in a very red area, which I find to be extremely odd. But again, it was a human error, not a. According to them, it was a human error. But then the Georgia governor got on the air today and he says, well, it was actually the system didn't really upload it. So yeah, it wasn't a human error. It was a computer error. But nevertheless, I mean, it's an uphill battle. I just want my audience out there to know that there's a lot of forces behind getting rid of Donald Trump. A lot of powerful people. I don't know why Wall Street would want to get rid of him. Maybe Jason can explain to us because it seems like the stocks are doing great. I don't know why Wall Street would invest in Joe Biden rather than invest in Donald Trump. I mean, can you maybe explain that to me?
Honestly, I don't know. The market's like gridlock. And the fact that the Senate, when it's all said and done, the Senate will be Republican, brings gridlock. The market's like when there's no change, and gridlock is just that. So I've always said to my clients, the most important thing to remember is it's not so much the presidency, it's making sure the Republicans keep the Senate. And that's kind of happening, and that's why we're watching the market rebound. Since the election. For me though, I don't know about you, but part of being in a democracy, the most important part is that our vote counts. And how do you feel knowing that right now with some of this stuff going on, that does our vote really count?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I'm being openly I'm gonna be extremely open. If there's evidence and we prove that election fraud exists, we should hit the streets and we should fuck some things up. And I'm talking to you very straight up, people should pay the consequences. That is enough to cause a civil war in this country. That's enough of a reason to cause a civil war in this country. Plain and simple. I mean, I'm telling you, people are getting tired. I had a guest yesterday seeing people getting punched across the face by little punks that wait till they turn around, punch them across the face. They seem to attack older people. They seem to take advantage of the more vulnerable ones. And people are getting just plain tired of this bullshit. I'm calling it for what it is. People are just tired. We're seeing this on the news. We're seeing fellow Americans getting attacked, and we don't like it. Nobody likes to see anybody getting bullied. And this is what's happening every day in America. And they're basically stealing an election. Then you have these riots. You have a mix of all this. It's causing a lot of tension. I feel it. A lot of my friends feel it. And a lot of people are feeling it throughout the entire United States. And I've said this so many times in my stream, in my podcast. I've said it so many times. Be careful what you wish for. You might wake up a sleeping giant. Americans are patriots. Americans love this country. Americans will hit the streets, and it will not be Antifa or those groups, those little militia groups that were all dressed in black that shot themselves. These will be people that know how to use guns, and they will go into the streets, and they will bring justice on their own. I'm telling you. And I saw I was shocked when I saw in Parler, the sheriff, I forget his name, the guy that's always wearing the cowboy hat, that he's a very hardcore sheriff. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. I
know John. I don't know his name.
Okay, well, he actually almost endorsed people hitting the streets. That's crazy. When you see a sheriff literally endorsing, he says, we need to start doing what the left does. We need to hit the streets. He's basically endorsing, we can't let them steal the election, hit the streets. He said something along those lines.
Listen, I'm not going to endorse people hitting the streets. But what as a Republican, that's not what we do. We go back to work. we got to pay taxes. You know, there's a lot of things that you know, we need people working together. But for the first time, I want to see people pay for this type of action.
But when do they
You know,
pay?
there are,
When do we ever see justice on our side? We
that's
know
the problem.
Hillary Clinton's crooked. We know Hunter and Joe Biden were in on Russian deals and Chinese deals and all sorts of dealings. He still got elected. Twitter pretty much confirmed it today. And they made a mistake and they should have never censored the story. Bullshit. They made a mistake. The mistake was that they censored it, and then it made more people wonder, why did they censor it? And the news broke out higher. They thought they were going to be able to keep it under the radar, and it backfired. I mean, this is becoming crazy where they're trying to take our freedom of speech. They're trying to do a lot of things that Americans are getting fed up. I'm telling you, I know that me and you live in a different world because we're business people. We're people that run our own. We're entrepreneurs. We have a family. We really aren't violent people. I'm not a violent person by nature. I really don't like confrontations or issues, but I am a person that for this, I would die for this country. If it means bettering the future for my kids or something, I would do it. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to get there. It's far-fetched. I highly doubt it'll get to that level. But I mean, at some point, these people have to pay the piper. Like at some point, these people have to pay for what they're doing. I mean, these people are committing crimes left and right. We've got government officials involved in this. We got so many. It's so deep that I can't even see Trump being able to win because, I mean, I don't even see an honest Republican at this point. It feels almost like you don't even have, I feel like Republicans are also bought and paid for, and they're just trying to please Donald Trump's base because they're scared. Because they realize that Trump has woken up America and they don't want to lose that group of people that are going to support them the next time around. And it's just, it's really ridiculous. I mean, there's a few of them. I see some stars like Jim Jordan, that's from your great state. Matt Gaetz, that's from my great state. There's a few of them there that I could see that they don't back down. And DeSantis just, I love living in Florida. I mean, DeSantis just passed the perfect law. I mean, if any rioters or looters, they try to take anything from you, you have every right to defend your property, which pretty much means lead. Like, he's pretty much letting looters know, you fuck around with people's businesses here, you're gonna get hurt, and it's gonna be justified. But that being said, from a financial point of view, should people be worried about their finances? People like me that have money in different things like Roth IRAs, I have money in stocks, I have money in different places. Should I be concerned about my money if there's a Biden presidency? Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Do you feel homeless in today's American political world? Not really into either candidate or party? Guess what? You're not alone. Join me and others just like you across this great country for a discussion of politics from a viewpoint that you can't find in today's media, the middle. I'm your host, Brian Grozier, and I invite you to join in on the discussion by downloading and listening to the Middle American Podcast.
No, I like I said, with gridlock, I think the market's going to do fine. You know, part of the problem that we have right now is, you know, I don't know what to believe. You know, I sit and I listen to the media, and a lot of the facts that I give and share to my clients come from right-wing media. And I don't know what to believe anymore. We've gone 2 straight elections with polls suggesting one thing, and let's be honest, the pollsters have been dead wrong. You know, things like we're talking about tonight in Michigan and Nevada, do you think CNN would even consider talking about them?
Absolutely not.
And so
it's opinionated news. It's no longer news like it was. We've lost, the media has lost credibility. Even Fox News has lost credibility. I mean,
The
they've all
only
lost it.
thing, yeah, well, the only thing I hear on the news anymore is why Trump hasn't started the transition. That's the only thing that I have heard. And you know what? As far as I know, Biden is not even president-elect. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox have said he's president-elect, but he actually isn't president-elect yet.
Of course not. The media doesn't call the elections. It has to get certified,
That's
and
right.
then the electorals call the states. There's a whole process to it. I mean, everybody, most people are informed. Look, the problem is that this is what's happening. That you can't really get reliable news anymore. So then you go. There's either extreme right wingers like Infowars. That's, to me, I mean, nothing against Alec Jones, but he's a joke. I mean, that guy really, he's just extreme, and he's just doesn't make. I mean, that guy's a conspiracy theorist. I don't even know how he has a following. And then you have the left that lies about everything. And then you have Fox News that you thought was a bit credible. And you have them doing things that are very odd, to say the least, calling Arizona so close to the voting count. States that you know are red. They didn't call Alaska for almost a fucking week, but they called Hawaii for Joe Biden. I mean, just things you know Alaska's going red. Like, why wouldn't you call it? Almost like it was just weird. Even the when I was watching the elections live, and I was watching Brett Baer, and I was watching these anchors. Chris Wallace is, to me, is a joke. I felt in the debate it was pretty much Chris Wallace and Joe Biden debating Donald Trump, but it's been like that since Donald Trump got into office. So nothing surprises me from the media anymore, or from anybody who dislikes Trump. But nevertheless, it's just you can't get information anywhere because everything is censored or lied or tweaked. The New York Times used to be the most reliable newspaper. You can't trust them. The New York Post seems to be pretty reliable. They seem to be digging, and I mean, they released a Hunter Biden story, but then they got censored. So it's almost like we have no avenues to go to. Newsmax, they're new. They're a fresh network. I don't know much about them. I know they're very right-wing, and that's dangerous too, because then you start getting into too much not factual information, not accurate information. I still don't know what happened in his court hearings today. I don't know if it got dismissed or not. It's nowhere to be found. He had an emergency court hearing, and to stop the certification, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he won. I don't know if he lost. All I know is that everybody continuously keeps telling me that Donald Trump keeps losing every single lawsuit. But I'm like, when are they going to use this evidence that Powell and Giuliani have? When are they going to use it? I mean, I just don't understand. That supposedly they have very strong evidence. I mean, I put her on my last show, like what she was saying, and Rudy Giuliani, and it sounds like they have pretty credible information. Like it has, that it could overturn. And to her case, Sidney Powell's a pretty straight shooter. People are always criticizing Rudy Giuliani, saying he's a nutcase. I mean, I'd like to see somebody show me a resume like his. That guy single-handedly took down the mob. That guy was the mayor of New York City during September 11th, one of the biggest crises we've had in our entire country, tragedies. And he was the mayor during that time. So I want to see, honestly, everybody criticizes him, but I would like to see any congressman or senator that could show me a better record than that. And the one saying it the most is Joe Biden, who doesn't even know what state he's in. So, I mean, and this is the guy that might be the president of the United States. It's really scary. He's already offering, and finances, he's already offering to dismiss $1.5 trillion in student loans. Because that's how much the debt is right now in student loans, $1.5 trillion. How is that even possible to acquire a debt that big? I mean, these people, I mean, and who's going to pay for it? Taxpayers? What about the people that chose not to go to college? The people that are just hard workers, and and what about the people that paid their college? That worked hard and paid their college?
Right.
I mean, this is just, and the left loves it because none of these kids.
Hey, what about the kids that are going to go to school next year?
Oh, it'll be paid for.
We're talking about, instead of just paying off the debt, why don't we work with the universities on why why this much is being charged, and do the kids understand what they're paying for?
That's the key. The thing is that there's no skin in the game for the
No.
universities. So they don't have nothing to lose. They get to they pay these professors to teach these young kids all these left-wing ideologies and all these things. They're not even teaching them the proper. I mean, the most I would say is that if there was a university I would send my son, it would probably be, I would try to like convince him to go to Notre Dame or something like that. Somewhere where I know that they're going to actually teach school. Like they're actually going to teach him something instead of teaching ideology. I actually spoke to my brother-in-law, who actually was a Bernie supporter and is no longer a Bernie supporter because now he's in the workforce. He's grown up. He's in his 30s. And he told me that he thinks back now, and he went to Washington. He went to Washington State. He went to a school it's called DigiPen. It's in Redmond. And he was explaining to me that now that he thinks back, he remembers that he had to take a course that had to do with nothing about what he was studying. He was studying to be a computer programmer. And he goes, I had to take a course about like politics and ideology and the way things work. And he says that now that he thinks back, he took the class. I mean, he really didn't pay attention to it. But he says, I wonder if that played a role in why I was a Bernie supporter. He goes, if that was somehow engraved in my head or something. And this is what they're teaching the students. I mean, that's why I'm so proud to say I live in a very red area where most of the teachers here are Republican and vote Republican. And I'm sorry, I want to raise my kids in a conservative type atmosphere. They can make their decisions later. I'm never going to impose any of my political views on them. I'm going to let them find their own way, but at least I'm going to give them a chance to find their own way. I'm not going to start brainwashing them at a young age, such as these schools are doing to our kids. What's your take on that?
Listen, man, I grew up in an area that just this past election was 89% Republican.
Ah, beautiful.
It's half the people there don't believe in wearing masks. It wouldn't be uncommon to walk up to a business and say, if you have a mask on, you're not welcome in. Now, I'm not suggesting that. I think this virus is very real, and we got to do things to curb the spread of it. But I'm in the same boat as you. Everything costs money, and just by putting another zero behind the national debt doesn't fix anything. And that's been our game plan. And the thought is that our economy is worth, 70 trillion, 80 trillion, 90 trillion dollars, that we can afford to have a certain amount of debt. Well, who knew that we were going to spend 7, 8, 9 trillion dollars in 2020? At some point in time, debt has to be paid back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know when, but eventually your debt becomes more than what your economy is even worth. It's a problem.
That is correct.
And when's it going to catch up? Well, listen, my father always said, we worried about this back when I was a young man. My grandfather said the same thing. And, eventually it's a problem. The numbers that have been spent in 2020 are off the chart. And we're not done. There's going to be another stimulus package. And in that stimulus package might be $1.5 trillion in student debt. I don't know what all's next, and it scares me.
It scares everyone. It scares anybody. And the reality is, and this, I've spoken to doctors, this isn't going anywhere. COVID-19 is not going anywhere. It's going to be like the flu. It's not going anywhere. There's actually been studies done that 85% of the people that have been tested positive have been wearing a mask. There's a study that they've been holding off on that supposedly the study has been going on for 6 months in reference to masks and COVID-19. I strongly believe that the study proves that masks don't do anything. And and they don't want to release the study because of that same exact reason. I remember my mother-in-law, she's a nurse, and she told me one of the first things she told me was, and this was before like the pandemic got real serious. She goes, well, these masks, now she wears a mask everywhere because, she's older, but she's a nurse. She's been a nurse for like 35 years. And she goes to me, these masks are no good for more than 30 minutes. Once you get them wet and once it starts getting wet, they're useless. They're no longer preventing anything from coming in. Do you honestly think that wearing a cloth in your face is changing anything? That's like wearing a shirt. No. I mean, all you have to do is just, I could suck. I use my e-cigarette and I smoke through the mask. Do you think the virus is not getting into there? I mean, I just use the mask to protect the elderly. But in reality, I know the reality is I'm not protecting myself from anything. If I'm going to get COVID, I'm going to end up getting COVID. If I don't get it, I'm blessed that I didn't get it. But I'm pretty much at that point where I feel like it's there. I'm eventually going to get it, or I've gotten it already and I'm immune to it. I don't know. But it's not going anywhere. And locking down is not going to help anything. It's not. It's just going to further the debt in the economy. It's just going to make the economy crash. A lot of people are going to lose money in the stocks. We're finally getting back close to where we were at before. And I think we're back where we were at before, right? In the stocks?
Yeah.
We're back where we were at before, which is, I would say, a huge success on Donald Trump's behalf. I mean, a complete recovery faster than anyone even predicted. And then people, of course, they want to play the blame game. It's very easy to sit back and be looking from the outside in and say, oh, Trump handled this wrong. Trump handled that wrong. Try being in the position of doing it while it's happening. Okay, because we all know H1N1 was handled 100% wrong. It was actually stated by the guy that Joe Biden just put in as his chief of staff. He's already getting his cabinet ready without even knowing the certainty of the elections. But the chief of staff that he's picked said that they did everything wrong. H1N1 infected over 66 million people. They had no testing for it till late on. And I mean, the vaccine took forever to come out. Donald Trump, on the other hand, and then that's when I start thinking to myself, how many people are against Donald Trump? You think Pfizer didn't know the results of their tests prior to the election? You think they didn't know?
How convenient a week after it comes out with a 90% effectiveness.
I mean, it almost shows you that the man is fighting against everything, even the people that he helped push the medicine faster are going against him. This is just like beyond my understanding. It is crazy to me. I don't know. And I'm just like you, dude. I feel like I'm living in the Twilight Zone. I feel like this world isn't real. I walk into supermarkets, I see all these people wearing masks. I'm like, I look at it and I'm just disgusted. I'm just tired of talking about COVID-19. I'm just tired of hearing about COVID-19. I mean, it's just something that's been dragging on forever, and it's just something that, and it's something that takes serious because 250,000 people have died from it. So yes, it's something serious and people are infected with it. But at some point in time, we just have to move on with our lives and just continue to keep living. That's what Americans do. We go to work, we maintain our families, and we just want to live the best life we possibly can. That's it.
I'm sick of the negativity. I'm so tired of reading the Wall Street Journal, listening to CNBC or reading articles from CNN. Everything is negative. There's nothing positive anymore, and there hasn't been since all of 2020.
Well, I mean, you're talking about an organization. You're talking about an organization that since 2016 they've been criticizing this president. I mean, everybody's telling us let's unify. Let's unify now. Did you guys unify in 2016? Because you put us through hell. You put us through 2 years of a fucking fake Russian Steele dossier investigation that you knew from the beginning it was fraudulent. And it was all a strategy to take the election away from Trump. And they're trying to do it again. Just this time, they're literally stealing the ballots. I mean, and you want the American people to unify. And then they go out and they march for Trump and you start fighting them and attacking them. That's your sign of unification, and nobody condemns it, which is the saddest part. Nobody condemns it. Nobody says. I was shocked to see, because I've seen all the footage, because I'm friends with the chairman of the Proud Boys. I'm not affiliated with them in any which way, but he went to middle school and high school with me, and we've known each other for several years. And he showed me all the videos of all the things that were going down. And it's incredible that NBC's main article said protesters clash with MAGA supporters. But the pictures that they were showing was the Proud Boys like yelling, almost like making it look. You didn't have to say, they didn't want to say it was them, because they knew really it was the left that was starting the problems. But the picture said enough. The picture made it look like Trump supporters are these crazy, aggressive maniacs that want to attack Americans. And it's just disgusting to me. And I'm just tired of it. I'm sick of it. I think most Americans are. That's why everybody's moving over to Newsmax. I think people are tired of Twitter. That's why they're moving to Parler. It's just overwhelming. Americans are stressed. They're extreme. I wouldn't be surprised if something else happens before the year ends, because I mean, this has just been the craziest year I've ever at least lived. I mean, the craziest year, and I mean, and I just, nothing would surprise me at this point. I mean, really, nothing could surprise me in 2020. I mean, it literally wouldn't surprise me if Trump overturns the election. It would be like, wow, he did it. Like, I would. Like, because it's just so crazy, everything that's going on. I wouldn't be surprised they rigged the election. I wouldn't be surprised of anything. So, I mean, it's insane.
I'll tell you this. At 10:30 this morning, I read an article on CNN, and it talked about two of Trump's lawyers that were working on the campaign fraud, the voter fraud, walked out. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, they finally figured there's no chance, and this is CNN. And then I read another article that they backed out to let other lawyers from the state of Pennsylvania in. They were two lawyers from Texas. They let other people in that were, we're never getting the entire story.
Well, I mean, and they're also getting docs. I mean, that's pretty sad that people are putting up the list of the lawyers representing Donald Trump so they can get harassed with their phone numbers.
They're getting harassed. The whistleblowers, the names are being listed of whistleblowers. It's downright despicable. I
mean, the difference between us is that we present whistleblowers. The Democrats seem to have a bunch of them, but they never show up. We never know who they are. We never know who they are. We know who gave Hunter Biden's laptop to the FBI.
Right.
We know who gave it to them. We know how the process worked out, and that was censored. But the story of Adam Schiff impeaching and the Ukraine phone call, nothing was censored. The source is still missing. Nobody knows who the source is, because probably the source was Adam Schiff himself. That's pretty much what I'm thinking the source was. It was Adam Schiff. And God, I mean, the problem is that the left keeps voting left. They'll never change. And like I said in my previous podcast, I said it, and I keep saying this. Under a Biden administration, you know what's going to happen for blacks and Hispanics? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. 4 years from now, they're going to run on the same thing. We're going to help you. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But under Trump's administration, we've had prison reform, opportunity zones. We've had historical black colleges, unemployment rate to the lowest in our lifetime. He's broken record after record that helps everyone across the board. Because for people that don't know this, whenever people keep saying, oh, Donald Trump is always talking about Wall Street. Oh, he's talking about Wall Street. Wall Street's not the most important thing. Yeah, let me give you a reality check. 100 million people have some sort of money in Wall Street. 100 million people out of our population of 360. So yeah, it does play a major fact. And it's not just the rich. It's anybody who has a retirement plan. It's anybody who works for a company who has a 401k. It's anybody who has a Roth IRA. It's anybody who has any pension. It's all in the stocks. So it does make a difference. It makes a huge difference for a lot of working Americans. It doesn't just help the rich. This conception that people have that when the stocks are high, oh, it's only helping the rich. No, it's helping a lot of Americans. a lot of Americans, because I guarantee you there's not 100 million rich people. That much I can tell you. That's not even close to being in the percentile of the wealth in this country. So 100 million people are not rich. That means there's a lot of hardworking Americans that have a pension, have a 401k, they work every day and they invest some of their money from their paycheck into their pension or into their 401k. And when the stocks go up, they're making money. And their retirement's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So when they retire, they actually have something to retire with. And I mean, if I'm incorrect on anything I'm saying, you're the financial advisor. You're the one that knows about this. So, I mean, you would have more knowledge, but I think I'm pretty dead on it. So I'm pretty sure I stole the line from somebody.
You're dead on, brother.
I'm dead on. So, Jason, I know you got to go to bed. I know that you took your time to get on my show. I greatly appreciate it. I'm truly blessed to have a friend like you. Thank you so much for informing me of this great news. At least from what it looks like it's credible. It would be key, like I've been saying over and over. The pathway to Donald Trump's election victory is dangling by 3 states. He would have to just flip Michigan, and Nevada, and Arizona and Georgia, and he takes the election. That's it. He doesn't even need Pennsylvania. And we all know Pennsylvania did a massive amount of fraud. I mean, and Wisconsin's within a margin of error. Again, when was the last question for you, Jason. When was the last time you ever saw a president not win the election when they win Florida and Ohio?
I can't, listen, I'm 42. I can't remember, not in my lifetime. You take Florida, Ohio, you win the election.
That's usually how it works. But apparently it's completely
and by the
different.
Way, he took them both handily. Trump took them handily.
And what did they do? They did their ballots right. They did everything and no irregularities, no fraud anywhere. They had the results by 10 o'clock at night. I mean, it was impressive. Florida did a great job. Ohio did a great job. I mean, I called the election. When I saw he won Ohio, I go, that's it. He won the election. I go, there's no way he lost the election. And then suddenly all these states start flipping blue. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? They didn't call North Carolina. I'm like, North Carolina? Are you kidding me? I mean, and then he loses.
Arizona was called in the first half hour after voting was. It doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, how can you call Arizona that's been red for the last 20 years?
Yeah.
I mean, it was bizarre to me. It was odd. I blame Fox News, and Fox News is sticking with their guns. I hope they find something there that shows that he won Arizona, and Fox News has to formally apologize to the president. And if Donald Trump gets reelected, I would never do an interview again with Fox News. If I was him, I would never give them the time of day. Unless it's Sean Hannity or Laura Ingraham or Tucker Carlson, who's been vigilantly defending them. Even against Fox's news recommendations, they continue to attack it. They continue to talk about the fraud that's going on. Tucker Carlson's doing a great job. Judge Jeanine, Mark Levin. There's a bunch of Steve Hilton. There's a bunch of guys in there that are really good, solid reporters that they're still fighting the good fight, and they're not letting them just steal the election. It's hard to find some of those people around, but there's still some out there, and I just don't think the American people are going to let them steal the election, but that's just my opinion. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate it so much, bro. Have a good night. Sleep well, my friend. We will talk tomorrow morning.
I appreciate you, brother. Love your show. Love the good work you do. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, buddy. So yeah, guys, you heard it there. I just thought I'd bring in one of my friends. I have a lot of different friends in different places. I try to bring in different people that can bring in. Look, I keep my show very simple. My show, I'm not a radio host. This is something I started a year ago. I'm passionate about it. I love it. And I love the fact that everybody's showing me so much support. Okay. I got an endorsement from somebody pretty big, which you'll hear towards the end. And I'm going to tell you, I'm proud of where I'm coming. Where I'm getting to. I have a big goal here, and I'm really, it's hard in life to find something that you're passionate about and you love doing and actually making money on it. I'm not making money right now, which is fine with me. I have no issues with that. I love what I do. And I think that's the most important part in life, to do things that make you happy. Obviously, you got mortgages, you got bills to pay, and people got responsibilities. But nevertheless, I am super happy where I've come from the day I started doing this to where I'm at today. It's just growing, and the audience is growing more and more. I'm getting interviewed by local radio stations constantly. I'm on the radio all the time, and I'm getting the gist of it. I'm understanding it, but I'm just a regular American, and that's what I want to keep it. I want to keep it that way. I'm not a guy that has perfect grammar. I'm not a guy that's going to talk to you in a way that so educated that you're going to lose your conversation with all my smart words or whatever. I'm just a normal American, born to a family of immigrants. I have a college level degrees. That's about it. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm just a regular guy like anyone else here in the U.S. And I like that about my show. I like it to keep it real. I like to keep it authentic. I'm not going to throw constitutional. I mean, I do my research like anybody else would do. I try to dig in as much as I can and find the truth. It's hard nowadays because a lot of things are twisted. And I try to just relate to Americans and their frustrations and give you guys as much peace of mind as I possibly can. If you guys ever want to be on my show, feel free to contact me. My email is arepublicannation@gmail.com. That's arepublicannation@gmail.com. You can reach out to me through my website, therepublicannation.com. You can also reach out to me through Instagram, The Republican Nation, or Facebook, A Republican Podcast. I'm on all social media networks. It's not hard to find me. And I would more than glad to have you as a guest. Anybody, I don't care. I also have a direct line that you can call me, leave me a voicemail, and I will call you back, and I'll get you on the show. You can also reach that number at the Republican Nation, which is hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry, I didn't have it at hand. The Republican Nations, our phone number is 310-498-5463. That's 310-498-5463. If nobody picks up, my assistant doesn't pick up, you can leave a voicemail. I'll call you back and we'll schedule time for you to be on the show. I will be more than glad to have you. Guys, thank you for sticking through these 40 minutes of conversation with my good friend Jason from Ohio. God bless you. God bless your family. And God bless America.
Hi, it's Judge Janine. I want to thank you for listening to the Republican Nation podcast. It's an important podcast to listen to because the Republican Nation is all about the Constitution, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and all of those rights that are important to all of us. We've got to make sure that America doesn't lose any of those rights and that we stay true to our founding fathers' intent. So thanks again for listening to the Republican Nation.
We will make America great again.